Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday Night Movie Talk. We are now sort of calling it Gen Z movie reviews. We're trying something a little different. So let us know in the chat or the comments below what you guys think.
I shouldn't be here then.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know you're not the
go.
best entrance to Gen Z movie reviews. Even though Kyle down here looks like he's Gen Z, he's not. Luke and me are. And of course, we like talking about the cult classic films that we did not get to experience in the theaters 20 plus years ago, because we're in our early 20s and we are definitely enjoying the ride here, though. So thank you all for joining us here today. We are talking about Steven Spielberg's infamous classic, Jaws, 1975. I have the pleasure of being joined by my friend Luke here, as always, as well as another friend of ours, a friend of the channel, Kyle Corwith. Kyle, how you doing today, buddy?
Thank you for having me, man. It's good to be here and talk about a movie that you may or may not like, because you said you watched it again tonight, but before that, you said you weren't a fan, and I promised my audience that I would get into it with you.
Okay, I know you did. That was intimidating, very intimidating. I know. We'll see. I definitely have some different thoughts today. Definitely some different thoughts. Luke is also a big fan of Jaws. How are you doing today, man?
Finally,
Really good. I mean, just saw Jaws.
Yeah.
A lot. Love that
That's good. You're looking nice and bright again too.
movie. Yeah, I'm bright and everywhere.
Let me just get one thing real quick, because I think my light. Oh, I don't have my. Oh, here we go. Gotta make sure those are on. Nice. Yeah. So it looks like we all just rewatched Jaws. If somehow you're not familiar with Jaws, let me summarize it for you real quick. Let me pull up a picture here. An iconic image of Jaws, the poster here. So, you know what? This film, it's iconic, right? I mean, this is Spielberg's biggest film. For me, I love Schindler's List the most. There's not a day that goes by that I don't really think about Schindler's List. I'm absolutely infatuated with it. I've seen it probably 10 times over, and I've only just been introduced to it. So Jaws, I've had it under my belt before. We're going to get into my thoughts a little later, because I'm a little iffy about it. I'm not as excited like everybody else here. But just to talk about the story a little bit, it starts at the very beginning when a tragedy occurs out in the waters. A young woman is killed by a shark near the coastal town of Amity Island, just a little town. You wouldn't even think about it if you were just passing by. They rely a lot on their tourism, though, especially the beaches. There's not much going on with this town, small town, just not very exciting area. They got the beaches, though, right? The beaches are pristine. They're beautiful, beautiful, rushing blue waters. And that's brings in some money into the town, right? How exciting is that? Finally, we get some tourism here. We get some life, and business booms when you have tourism, when you have all these different people coming in to visit the space. So the lovely mayor, he's very adamant about the beaches and about their success. And everything starts to get a little tenser for the mayor as well as the city officials when chaos just continues to erupt as people keep dying off. It's not like there's not like a tremendous amount of deaths that just keep popping off, but a few are amounting, and people are beginning to grow wary, especially the police chief, Martin Brody. So after the first one, after the first death with the poor girl in the very beginning, he's a little wary of it, but the city officials, they pretty much coax him out of it. Like, man, we need this money. It's for the town. It won't happen again. It was probably just a boat accident, right? Well, not long after, chaos continues to erupt, and a little boy dies. And at that point, shit hits the fan, and the chief definitely wants to start closing off the beaches. But he has to keep fighting these city officials because they are just money hungry, stuck up guys. And they're not really thinking about, the bigger picture here and the dangers that this is going to accrue. So in the very beginning of the film, we're kind of met with a internal battle between the police chief, Martin Brody, like within himself, trying to figure out if he's, what he should do here. Nobody's exactly on his side at this point in time. And he starts to gain some followers to close off the beaches and to gain more awareness. When Richard Dreyfuss shows up, he's a marine biologist here. And if you're a fan of Richard Dreyfuss, we just reviewed Close Encounters of a Third Kind. He's in that. He's the star of that film. And my gosh, I've loved that film. He is amazing in that. And he continues to be an absolute joy to watch in this movie. He lends a helping hand in the story here. And he backs up the fact that, yes, there's a killer shark in the waters, bigger than anything this little town has ever seen. They need to close the beaches off. Chaos continues to erupt, blah, blah, blah. Then they finally start to understand, the city officials, everyone in town, that this is a serious issue that needs to be dealt with. And that's when they start headhunting for shark hunters. And that's when we are introduced to the captain, Captain Quint, who is obviously, infamous captain. If you've seen him, you'd recognize him. He's got infamous, just crazy dialogue in here. He's he's a one-man band. He's a lone wolf. And he wants to, if he's going to pick up this job, he wants a lot of money and he wants things done his way. So reluctantly, he joins forces with Richard Dreyfuss and the chief, and they go out on a mercy mission, going out into the waters, trying to hunt down the great white shark. And they really don't know what's coming for them. That's the premise of this film. What do you guys feel after watching the movie again? Because Kyle, you rewatched this yesterday, and Luke, we just watched this today. How did you feel just being reawoken to this story again? Because I know you guys are particularly passionate about this.
Luke, go ahead. I want to hear what your history with it, and what was this rewatch like, if at all different?
So growing up, it was all about just the shark. Growing up, obviously that's all a kid. I mean, not, an average kid wants to see, but that's what I wanted to see growing up. I just was interested about the sharks and all that. But now I was really interested about like who really had the higher authority. I mean, to be fair, what's the fisherman's name? Like the
Captain Quint?
Yeah, Captain Quint. Like, come on. Why are they acting like he's such a big dude? I mean, he's just a fisherman. Like, how does he get to talk and negotiate with the mayor and make a deal with him? 10 grand. Okay, that's my first thing. The other thing, why weren't we trying to push to get the Coast Guard involved? Like, what like?
That's a good point.
What was the mayor gonna do? I mean,
yeah, they kind of left that part out of it, right? I mean, that's kind of a crucial element that could have made a big deal. I mean, their resources are only, they're only so thick, right? I mean, this is a small town. These cops really have no idea what they're doing. The main guy, the deputy here, Deputy Boyd, I think is his name, or Brody. Yeah, Brody. He's just learning about sharks right here. And this is something I kind of I found endearing about the movie right off the bat was, this is 1975. This is a long time ago, right? I mean, this is like 50 years ago, pretty much. And it's so weird to just see like it sounds funny, but here's the Gen Z side of us talking. He wanted to learn about sharks, so he opened up a book. He couldn't really look something up on the internet, He looked at a book, and I was just thinking, when that popped up and he was looking at the book, I was thinking, you know what? That's what you would have to do back in the day. You'd have to go to a library, you have to go to a bookstore and grab a book about it, because I don't know how else you would hear about this. And I think sharks, I guess you would see stuff on TV. It's sort of niche. I mean, you would think he would be more attuned because, he's on a beach here, but it didn't really seem like he knew what he was getting into. So I didn't mean to digress. Do you have anything else, Luke?
I also just like to point out the I want to say special effects because it was a prop, but it looked damn good. The shark looked great for 1975. I mean, intimidating and realistic. I was impressed, growing up and to now. It was pretty great.
Why do I get a sense that, Brawler, you have a different perspective?
Wait, what do you mean? Oh, the practical effects?
Yeah.
No, I thought it was good. I think we saw it again today. Especially when it was in the water, I was really surprised. I think, they did pan to a few times when it's an actual shark, clearly. I don't know. It didn't bother me. I like practical effects, Kyle. The Thing is one of my favorite films of all time. I don't like all this CGI digital crap. Mm-hmm. I think when I was younger, I'd say probably 4 years ago, I started to notice a discomfort within myself where it's I'm sick of all the effects. I'm sick of the disgusting CGI. I think one of the biggest examples of that, what bothered me which made a huge difference in the film altogether too, was the Hobbit movies, right? I mean, the Lord of the Rings films, those orcs look so good, right? I mean, they were so
Whoa, you just
cool.
said Hobbit films.
Oh
And
no,
then
no,
you
but
went
yeah, here, no,
into
I'm
Lord
gonna
of the
jump
Rings.
over there. I'm
Yeah,
gonna jump over there, Mister.
different things,
Lord
man.
of the Rings, they looked great. They were interesting. I was
Yes.
immediately drawn to them. Hobbit, they're these CGI beasts.
Yeah.
They look stupid, uninteresting, and it just didn't work. It didn't feel like Lord of the Rings. It didn't feel like Tolkien's world. That's
Correct.
why I jumped over there. I'm making the comparison, Kyle.
Yeah. So when you growing up, you were saturated more so with CGI than you were practical
Oh
effects.
yeah.
I mean, how much was the inflow of classic films that had practical effects for you when you were growing up?
That's a good question. Not much, really. I mean,
Yeah.
I grew up. I mean, the movies I grew up watching were, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, a lot of cartoons, a lot of animated stuff, really. Star Wars, the prequels, those were big when I was young. I wasn't, you know what? I mean, it just kind of shows you how people are different. Like what you grow up with is what you cling to. Like the prequels were my thing. When I was young, I didn't really care much about the OT, just because that was my thing growing up with it. I also watched Lord of the Rings a lot. I was into all the super nerdy stuff right off the bat. But yeah, I mean, mostly digital stuff. I mean, when you were young, because you're not as young as you look, surprisingly, was that the case for you?
I had a combination of classic films that my parents grew up with, the old live action Disney films like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which, by the way, there's a connection here. Bob Matty so they had a really shitty giant squid in the first sequence that they shot for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and Bob Matty came in, commissioned by Disney to make a new one, and Bob Matty, years down the road, created the shark.
Okay.
So there's a connection.
Oh, the shark to
20,000
Jaws.
Leagues.
Okay.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
he's the
I didn't know
being-
that was a live action film. I guess when I think 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I think of the one where it's an old Disney animated film where there's like a submarine underwater. Maybe I'm thinking of Atlantis. Is that what it is? You know what
the
I'm talking
Lost
about?
City of Atlantis.
Yeah, that's
Lost
what it is.
Empire or whatever. Yeah. Michael J. Fox voiced a character in that. Yeah, I remember that movie too. But no, the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was in 1952 or 54. And Kirk Douglas is in it, James Mason. The movie has incredible practical effects in it. If you pull up, I know you're not prepared, but if you pulled up a picture of that giant squid,
it's like a killer squid or something.
It's, dude, and there's footage. If I was more prepared to pull it up, footage of that sequence, and it's in the rain, and you have men fighting it when it's attached to the submarine, and their harpoons flying about, and they're smacking. It's for that time. I mean, not even just for that time. That sequence is thrilling in the way that they reshot it, because at first they were trying to do it with a really crappy blob of a thing, and strings were just moving the arms up and down, and it was during a sunset. The reshoot for that sequence with the new new squid is in the rain, lightning flashing, violence. The hoses. I know I'm talking about the squid, but it's relevant to practical effects. They had these hoses inside the tentacles that would inflate with air, and then they would suck out the air, so it would curl the tentacles in a more fluid, organic way.
Wow.
And they talk about this in the behind the scenes. Again, there's footage of the behind the scenes that's incredible as well.
Okay.
So yeah,
if only Disney still made it like that, right?
I totally agree. If they were to make, I think they will eventually, when they do a remake, that they will harken back to that again, and not
been
just
a long
do the
time.
typical CGI route.
Man, it's been a long time. I can't even remember the last time they made like an original live action film from Disney, like Disney, not Fox or whatever else they own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they used to do it. They used to do it, and these are the kinds of movies that I grew up with. Yeah, I saw some of the animated films, and that's what they're mostly known for with the 80s and 90s stuff. But I had the inflow of movies you wouldn't even think of were Disney. The Rookie with Dennis Quaid, or in the 90s, White Fang with Ethan Hawke. These are movies that they're not big tentpole movies. These are almost character dramas. Where's Disney and all
Oh,
that? Anyway,
yeah.
this is tangential.
No. Hey, we talk about all kinds of stuff on
Okay.
there. You know, I liked another one that kind of just came to mind was about like this. That showed you the heart that Disney used to have too, right? I mean, this film has so much heart in it, and that's something I do admire about Jaws. Absolutely. But one film that Disney, one of those live action films that I've never really talked about, had to do with this old man and his brother was sick or something like that. And he didn't have a ride. He didn't have any money. So he drove
The Straight Story.
Yeah, that's it. A Straight Story. That's a good one. Yeah.
Mhm.
With what was it? A little tractor, a lawnmower. He drove a lawnmower.
Yeah, it was a lawnmower you sit on.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
drove that all the way to his house. And that was such a touching little story. It's like, this is Disney. Like, where? Wow.
Live action.
Yeah.
It is
It's
live
live
action, and I think David Lynch did that film. Weirdly
Wow,
enough.
really?
If
Wow.
I'm not mistaken, you might have to fact check me on
I
that.
don't know. I'm
But
curious about that.
it was out of the his style, but I think it might have been him who did
Was
that.
this a short film?
No, it was a
No,
full-on
it's like
feature,
a-
dude. Yeah.
It's
Oh, wow.
Disney too. It's so funny. It's just
Huh.
they don't want to do anything like that anymore.
No, and
I don't
that's what
know.
I'm talking about. These are character
It's all,
dramas.
it's all Snow White. It's just
Yeah, there you go.
You know,
The
yeah, it's-
remakes.
yeah,
No.
the remakes, the CGI and all that. It's
Yeah.
No,
But
it's
Kyle,
not
let's go back
reality.
to Jaws. So
Yep.
how did you feel rewatching it again? Because yeah, like we were talking about, you're very passionate about it. Did you feel any differently? Were you taken back to that time when you were a child and you were first awoken to this film?
I've not had a long time away from this film. I have seen it in pretty decent frequency over my lifetime. The first time I saw it, I was probably, first of all, I was way too young. And I may have been 5 or 7. By the way, this movie is officially rated PG. They didn't have PG-13 before the 80s. This movie should be rated R. Okay,
I don't know.
No,
It's not that bad.
Dude, you got limbs falling.
Yes.
You got blood everywhere. This movie would be rated.
Well, the
R
rating scale was
today.
so much different.
I'd say
back
it's a
then.
hard
It was-
PG-13.
Dude,
I don't
It's
know.
R. You
don't see the
you got
limbs.
nudity in
You
the
don't see
opening too.
Dude,
Do
you
you?
saw a leg dropping.
I don't know what
from the
what
ocean floor.
TV you're watching it from, but
Oh, no, I didn't
you have the
notice.
right
No,
kind of TV.
that-
Yeah,
that
you're gonna
should've
see
been-
tits
100%.
and
rated
maybe
R.
even the pubic hair.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess I didn't notice.
I
Well,
mean, you watch a kid get mutilated. I mean, that's enough.
but you
to
don't
be rated
see
R.
it though.
Yeah.
Everything's
pretty much
off
see-
camera,
You
kind of.
pretty much see it, like when he's about.
No,
water.
dude, you don't. See
I must have been
you see him
blinking
get
at the
pulled
wrong times or
down,
something.
blood
You
is
see
spurting out of the
blood
water.
You see blood pouring.
I mean, the worst
Like-
was the very end when you know who gets it.
I mean, are we worried about spoilers for a movie that's 50 years old?
No, but I wanted to get to it. I wanted to get to it a little later because that's a big
1975,
one. I know. You know what? I always hope that they'll jump on and watch the stream that haven't seen it yet because it would be nice to encourage somebody to watch these films that hasn't. But it's always like you want to like write a fine line. Is it like, you know, do I want to spoil things, but also kind of leave things in suspense if they want to see it themselves? I'm always kind of writing that line, and I don't know. I try to leave some things open for them to enjoy.
Is there anybody, other people talking in the chat that
Oh yeah,
can confess if they have not seen this?
No, not yet.
I just opened up the tab for the comments. They weren't showing up, but now they are.
Well, one thing I want to say. So yeah, as you said, Kyle, you said right off the bat that you've been you called me out because I wasn't the biggest fan of Jaws. And initially, the first time I saw it, I wasn't at all. The first time I saw it, I remember I was laying down and I was sick, and I was just interested in spending my time in this world because everybody just keeps talking about it, right? And I wasn't really that interested in Steven Spielberg at the time either. I always wondered what was particularly special about him. And ever since I've been diving into his work, I've just fallen in love, and he's become one of my favorite directors easily. But I don't know. I just
Dude,
initially,
what was it? What did you not like? This is what I'm curious about. And how old?
Oh
were you
yeah.
when you first-
Well,
when you saw it?
this wasn't that long ago.
Okay,
which
wasn't
is
that
the
long
worst
ago.
part. This
Was
is
it the
maybe
mood you were in?
no, yeah. So like six. This was probably six months ago. Honestly, probably 6
All right,
months
what
ago.
happened?
And,
All right,
and I don't know. I just wasn't intrigued. I wasn't intrigued by the characters very much. I didn't care much for either of those three. I don't know what it was. I think with the captain, I had a hard time following him. You know, his speech is hard to follow. It's also, I think it has to do with my TV because I think my speaker, for whatever reason, the sound mixing, it just doesn't work entirely well with like the background noise and stuff. So it's partially like a technological issue. But I
Is it too
also
quiet when you watch
no, I have it on max. I got
Okay.
it on max
He
in my
does.
place.
He-
I
it's
like
at
it nice and
100
loud.
volume.
Yeah, I'm a little hard of hearing, so I have to do that. But I don't know. I think I was also like, one of the highlights of Jaws is that it's a shocking suspense and it's intense and you get wrapped into this chaos, right? I mean, there's this invisible beast that's trying to kill you and you don't see where it is. Danger's impending at all times. There's not really a single safe moment. But I don't know, my first watch through, I did not find myself intrigued. I didn't find myself in danger, and I at that time I didn't really care much about the characters anyway, so I didn't really care what happened. Now this time, Kyle, I liked it a lot better. I don't know what it was. Maybe I paid closer attention. Maybe I was in a better mood, but I did enjoy Jaws.
Maybe
I
you're
think
just scared of disappointing people.
maybe that's
Yeah,
nah.
That was you
I-
going in with a positive mindset.
I say, you know what?
Does, you know?
There's stuff I say on these streams. Like I'll talk about stuff like War of the Rohirrim. I really didn't like. There's a lot of stuff I didn't like in War of the Rohirrim, but there's a lot of stuff I did like, and I make a video, and then a lot of people get pissed, and then that's it. But I don't care. I just like I speak my mind, and I want to tell people what I think. I don't like to think of things that way, and that's why I said I wasn't a big fan of Jaws, because obviously nobody's gonna like to hear that. Duh, it's the movie. I mean, when people think of like classic horror, classic suspense, I mean, they think of Jaws. They don't really think of anything else over that. So I don't know.
Change your view on the characters.
That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure what changed but today it was like a totally different day when I was watching them. I
noticed it seemed like it was your first time watching it.
You thought I had like that kind of,
yeah,
I don't know, that sort of optimism.
yeah, your comments and everything.
Yeah, it had to have been your mood, something.
Yeah.
Maybe being sick, just kind of being out of it.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
you
know.
were sick when you first saw it for the very
That's
first
true.
time?
That's true.
That was
Yeah.
it then.
Yeah,
that's because
I guess
we were
so.
watching it with other viewers that haven't seen it before. And it was
Yeah, normally we have a pretty rowdy group with us, and everyone was pretty quiet today. Everybody was paying attention. Something, I don't know who I listened to recently, but somebody mentioned something very interesting. Oh, it was George Lucas. He just had an interview with somebody, and he mentioned how, and this relates to Jaws, you'll see. He mentioned how he wrote Yoda to speak backwards because he wanted audiences to listen to what he was saying more. And I kind of felt that way with the captain today. Like, I didn't really understand him because, I don't know, he had that like
His
thick
speech,
accent or his speech, the way he slurred his words. But you know what? I paid closer attention and I started to feel for him. I mean, he has that inspiring story about what happened to him in the Navy, all that time ago, the USS Indianapolis. Yeah, where I think he said it was like over 1,000 Navy men. They were in the water. The sub blew up, and sharks
they were hit
ate
by
most
torpedoes.
of them. Okay, yeah,
Their
that's
ship
right.
was hit by torpedoes, and this is
Shot
a
by
true story
torpedoes.
for those who
Right.
are not aware.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, most of them got eaten up by sharks. So I could see why he's so heinous about the sharks. And just little
Everything
things
that he said is true. I mean, he's a fictional character, but everything that he said actually happened. Over around 600 men were bobbing in the water, or more than that, but
In 1945,
600, right? Yes, and they were delivering the last. So let's connect Oppenheimer for a second. So I'll put this in perspective for you. So Los Alamos is where it was built. It was shipped overseas to get the finishing touches on an island close to Japan, and they were delivering the atomic bomb. Once they did, that's when they were hit.
Oh wow!
This actually happened.
That's
and 1,000
crazy.
men went into the water, and 2/3 of them died. Were eaten
From sharks
alive. Yes.
Wow.
That is insane. Like, you think that sharks wouldn't be, what do you call it? Like in the movie, like they're all wanting to eat the humans. But in real life, you wouldn't think that they just go to you think they'd be more afraid or.
Well, I think there's what do they say? Like sharks smell blood or whatever.
Right.
I imagine all those poor guys were cut or
right.
whatever, and there's probably just
Yeah.
tons of blood in there.
Well, it was
I don't know.
actually so the I believe they were reef the type of sharks that ate them were particularly spurred on. It's the accumulative effect of when one shark attacks and they're spurred on by the thrashing and the movement. It's almost like they're, if one person goes on the dance floor and then the rest follow, it's basically that.
Okay.
It was a cumulative effect where all these sharks started eating and eating, and it
Like
added to
teens
it.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
it was an
Wow.
escalation
Jeez.
of
That's
people just getting
crazy.
eaten. Yeah,
That's
Wow,
I don't know why
kinda-
that isn't more common knowledge. I mean, that's a wild story too.
That is
They should
insane.
make a movie about that. Really,
They
I mean,
have.
that would be
They have.
interesting. They have.
have.
Oh,
That'd be a quick movie.
I want to see that in IMAX. That'd be crazy. Huh.
Well, imagine Nolan making a movie like that, right?
Wow. Yeah, that'd be
Spiritual
pretty.
sequel to Dunkirk.
That'd be spectacle. I like Dunkirk. I'm not. This is for another time. I'm not the biggest Nolan guy.
I
I'm
remember
not
you
the
talked about
biggest
that
Nolan
today.
guy. But maybe I just need to explore some of his work that isn't so popular, I guess.
Well,
But,
we can get into that
another
That's a
time,
discussion.
Kyle.
No,
That's for
no,
sure.
no. So his early part of his career is very well looked at by me. It's the stuff that he's done recently that make me question things. So
I know. I'm so worried about the new one. What is it? Odyssey. I don't like Tom Holland at all, and I don't like Zendaya at all.
Aw.
So there we go.
that whole cast is making me doubtful, and there are some articles that I'm reading online of publications saying this is going to be Nolan's biggest, most epic movie, and already when that's happening makes me even more skeptical. So
Yeah, we could use a Nolan film right now. I mean, it's always fun going. I remember going to see Tenet. I remember how excited I was for that. I think I've just been disappointed lately. I did enjoy Oppenheimer, but I don't
too
know.
fucking long, man.
It was, yeah. I'm so.
If you haven't watched my video, I go into detail as to why and what took too long, and et cetera, Anyway, you can check out the video if you want.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was gonna shout you out later in the end, but yeah, Kyle here. He's I've had the pleasure of streaming with him multiple times on Off the Cover Show. Be sure to check out his channel as well. He loves talking about the old classics, and he does his videos in such a fun, interesting, relaxing way. Instead of putting on one of those lo-fi beats, you could just have Kyle and his friends talking in the background about his favorite film. So be sure to check out his channel as well. Let's get into a big question. I mean, because Jaws, I think when people think of thriller, suspense, horror to some degree, they think Jaws. What do you think made Jaws this phenomenon that still holds up today? Because I mean, like everybody talks about it still. Young people talk about it, children, old people. It just seems to be that one movie that won't leave the big picture. So do you guys have any ideas?
One of the aspects that is magnificent is John Williams' score, which elevates this movie to a timeless degree and is horrific, scary, simple, but effective. And in other parts in the third act, maybe people don't really realize this, is the whole score is not all horror. There are sections of the movie where they're chasing after Bruce. They nicknamed that behind the scenes the shark Bruce, and that's a very majestic and whimsical, adventurous score going on here. It's like that type of stuff, and John Williams did that on purpose. He wanted to inject some adventurous feeling into the movie in and amongst all these horror moments. And it's very
isn't that
smart
funny?
because he did the exact same thing in Jurassic Park. It's majestic. It's you see some horror at the beginning where the Velociraptor kills the park ranger, and then we see the Brachiosaur and all that stuff. It's majestic. It's glorious. And then we get into the horror more so. But there's
it's good breaks, right?
Yeah, the main theme of Jurassic Park is uplifting. It's not scary, right? But there are scary moments in it. So he was doing that same stuff, and this is the origin of this. That's the Jaws is the origin of all what he did, and Jaws and whatever other, I could say Lost World, blah blah blah. But Jaws is Jaws and Jurassic Park are the peaks for that type of movie. So
That's a good point. I think, yeah, that's sort of like a Spielberg-ism, right? I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the adventure because I wanted to also bring that up. I guess I didn't really notice so much in the score, which I think just kind of subtly highlights it. But yeah, there was moments where it was like, you grin and you're excited, and like these characters, they have a bit of optimism. I think that's something I particularly loved about Richard Dreyfuss too. I think his like, he's very technical, and he's the comic relief. He's pretty funny. He's silly and witty. But he's also very serious, and he adds such an important dimension to the story that I loved. And I think he kind of, for me, like seeing his optimism and how excited he was to learn more and to participate in this wonder. That's where I felt like I was thrown into the adventure. Also, the main guy here, Brody. I don't know, for him, like, he's the main. I mean, obviously he's the main character here. I still don't really feel too strongly about him. I don't know if that's just like a me thing or not, but I think he also brought a case for adventure that the captain didn't really. I don't know. He was so staunch, and I don't know.
He was slightly introverted. Slightly.
Oh yeah. Maybe that's why, right? I mean, these guys are definitely more extroverted and less afraid to be themselves. That's a good point. But
he gets drunk one night and they go on the boat, but and that's when he becomes more outwardly vocal.
Okay, so you think he was drunk at that point when they were talking, like having a deep talk?
So in the middle of the film, when they go out at night after they cut the tiger shark open to check if that's the shark that killed the previous two people, Hooper says, we're going out at night. He's a night feeder, so we're gonna go check out the waters. He said, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I can't. Yes, you can. So he's very much more vocal, and he's talking about how in this small town, he's drunk at this point. In this small town, one man can make a difference. I come from New York, and there's so many shootings. You have to walk your kids to school, but in Amity, one man can make a difference. In 25 years, there hasn't been a shooting or a murder in this town.
Oh yeah, of course. I remember.
And then Hooper offers him a pretzel. Yeah, see, so I know the film.
Jeez, you're quoting
a little bit. Yeah, so I grew up with it, and so I was 5 or 7 when I saw it, and what happened from the fear of this is the consequence of when you show a child a movie when they're too young. And who knows, maybe it would have happened even if I was older. Through my entire childhood, I was always fearful. It was always there, and it made me self-conscious of going into the deep end. It doesn't matter if it was the ocean or the pool. Well, especially the ocean. Yeah, I would not go out very far. And I grew up in Chicago, so we had Lake Michigan, but I would vacation to Florida, so the actual ocean, and I would hear about shark attacks by bull sharks when I was out there locally.
Wow.
Yeah, while we were there. Yeah, I don't think they died, thankfully, but people would get attacked. So, yeah, the fear of your feet not touching the bottom was always something that freaked me out. I remember going parasailing in Florida, and what happens after you get up high, yada yada, you see the landscape, I don't know how high you are, hundreds of feet in the air, and when they let you down and they're reeling you in, from the boat, your legs touch the surface of the water and they go under. You're out really freaking far. You're really far into ocean when you're parasailing. There's a picture somewhere of me doing the parasail and my feet are touching the water just barely because my knees are all the way up to my chest trying to keep the feet out of the water. That is a result of this movie. No, it's when I was 12.
Oh, okay.
12 or 13 or something like that. But that was a consequence of this movie. Or even just for a few seconds, there's no damn way that I'm putting my legs and feet in the water, even if they're moving. I'm just bait.
Have you cooled off from that at this point?
In the ocean? No. No, not in the ocean, dude. I mean, I would not swim out where I couldn't touch the deep, the floor.
I'd be more worried about stepping on a jellyfish or like a starfish or something like that, or one of those, I don't know, some spiny succulent thing in the water.
It can
That's your
happen.
worry.
Huh?
That's your worry.
Yeah, that's my worry, man. That's my worry.
Look, it can
Especially those
happen,
jellyfish.
but look, I grew up going over the summers and sometimes Christmases to the Gulf of America. Now it's called the Gulf of America.
That's right.
And people are just gonna, lay. Oh, of course, you saw anyway. Yeah, I didn't get stung by a jellyfish and all that type of stuff. And it is true that this movie talks about if you are in shallow waters,
they'll still come.
Yeah. If you're in knee-deep water, you can still get attacked by a shark. So just be aware. That's why I like to look for clear waters. You can see
that helps, right?
Yeah, it does.
Luke, what do you think? Yeah, tell us your thoughts, Luke. So what do you think? What do you think makes this? What do you think makes Jaws so iconic? Like, why is it still resonating with people today?
Okay, this is easy for me at least because the ocean is such a mysterious and terrifying, place. I think that's one of the biggest horrors of this movie, in my opinion. I agree with you, Kyle, about like the music build up, like on the certain scenes, and it really grasps the viewer's attention of the gravity of the situation that is happening. Like, for example, Bruce chasing the boat with the barrels at night. That's pretty. I like to see when those two fishermen throw the roast into the water, and then it's so strong it rips the whole deck off, and then it turns around really quick and it chases them. But let me think. I think it's really big because I was telling Jackson this before I left. Correct me if I'm wrong. I may be wrong, but this is like one of the first big shark movies, right? Like that.
Oh yeah, this is the first. Yeah, this is the first of like the shark movie genre.
Yeah,
this set the precedent.
Absolutely. I mean, there were sharks in other movies. Say, like even going back to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. There's a sequence where it's not a great white. I think it's a reef shark that's in a scene where it runs into the main characters underwater because they have these underwater gear on and they're traversing pirate ships. Yada yada. Great movie anyway. So we've seen sharks in other films, but not in this way, contextually.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the main. I held back from saying that because I wasn't sure if there was another like big shark movie before this. But this shark, it's a 25-foot, in the movie.
Jesus, enormous.
Great white shark. They range to it like at most 18 feet, I believe. This is like like that. That's a hell of a prop. I mean, yeah, it's great. I mean, it's iconic. That's like
Luke, have you been to Universal before?
Yes,
did you see you went on like the tour or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's pretty cool. Have you seen that, Kyle?
Going on the tour? I actually
no, the Universal tour. Yeah.
Oh, I went on the Universal ride for Jaws before they closed it.
Oh, cool.
At Orlando.
Well, I don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah, it's so you go on this kind of ferry, sitting down, and for me it was noticeable in that you go to different sections on the water. You have a guy with a microphone, and I think he had a rifle. He's talking about, oh no, there's a shark, everyone, and it comes out. There's some sparks, and it incorporates some events that happened in the second film with the shark being electrocuted at the end. But it's clear that each section you go to, it's a different prop. It's a different shark prop that's popping up. But it still had its charm. It was still cool to see that in life size, and it's coming up right next to you, that type of thing. I wish it had more articulation, on the animatronic, on the ride. It didn't have the same articulation that this one did in the movie.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So, that's sad when they close those.
It is, because they could update that stuff. And I would like for them to do that. Well, another ride that they closed that I have a fondness for because I love the movie so much is Twister. Even though you're standing there and you're viewing a room of the sequence at the drive-in movie theater and you're not moving around, it's still there's video online of what happens, it's still fantastic effects that happen, and it's short-lived, but it's still to be able to be in a sequence, you're essentially in person and witnessing a sequence that's pretty close to what happened in the movie.
That's
and
cool.
That's fun to do. So yeah, if they were to update that stuff and challenge themselves when it comes to practical effects, say with the Jaws ride, I know it's closed down now, but they could resurrect it.
Sure.
Course,
I don't know what they replaced it with. I remember last time I went, they had like some Jurassic World ride. I went to the one in California. They had that, and then they had a whole Transformers area. And then maybe Harry Potter might have taken it over. They still had the Mummy ride, which is funny. And I feel like that's so like that is completely irrelevant at this point. I don't know why you would get rid of Jaws and you'd replace it, or maybe not replace it, but I mean, why get rid of Jaws and have the Mummy? I don't know.
They have
For me,
Marvel, like I think California.
Do they? Universal?
Not in Florida, I don't think, but yeah.
Oh well, Disney. I know Disney has like a Marvel World kind of thing.
That may be
in Cali. Yeah, but there's actually I saw some interesting facts about Jaws that I kind of want to share. It's it's sort of the birth of the modern blockbuster. Like this was a huge movie, and they did a lot of different things just right off the bat with it. They pretty much released just a crazy ad campaign. They wanted everybody to see this. And unlike like the traditional rollout of a lot of the films at this time, where they would just slowly roll it out to just select theaters, and then they would branch it out depending on how well it went. They released it pretty much the whole world, the whole country, at least a wide release. And they bet a lot on this. And, something funny was Spielberg, he had really no faith in this movie at all because of a lot of the glitches and a lot of the setbacks he had on set. So he didn't think it would translate very well, which is funny because this, at the time, 1975, this was the highest grossing film of all time. It was the first movie to gross over $100 million in the box office.
Now, and unadjusted for inflation.
Yeah, unadjusted. Yeah,
Gone with the Wind is the king if you adjust the inflation for that. But yeah, this film at the time, when it came out,
I mean, those are pretty big. Those are pretty big feats, right? I mean, now it's just kind of like commonplace where all the theaters have all the movies, right? Like I was a little disappointed because a friend of mine, Cammie, who streams with me, she got to see a movie I wanted to see, Friendship. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Kyle. I'm excited for that. I wanted to see it so bad, and it released just to select theaters it was either a few days ago or it was like last Thursday, and she got to see it and I didn't get to see it. I'm so disappointed, but that's like just one of the like small, like just a small example of how just a few movies, the smaller movies, they'll just do like a select release, then they'll branch out. So I don't know. It's pretty interesting that it sort of set that precedent, and that's something we don't even think about nowadays. So that's a pretty big shift in culture. I'm definitely curious what you guys think. So obviously you both love this movie. I want to know if you would put this in like your top 5, Kyle, because you seem to be really excited about it.
I think it's the scariest movie of all time.
Oh crap. The scariest movie of all time.
Okay, so people say that The Exorcist is the most scary movie. I did see that as an adult, and I saw the value and the greatness of the storytelling with the characters and the themes about faith. But when it comes to the effectiveness of the scares and Linda Blair being possessed, etc., I saw and appreciated the practical effects that they do, but it was more apparent to me that they were effects, and it didn't blend with the story and make the illusion translate enough for me. I think a better Exorcist film is The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I think that film is a lot more scary than The Exorcist. And I actually get, like, when I think back in that movie, I hesitate to watch it again because it's disturbing, and Jennifer Carpenter's performance in that movie is fantastic. But with Jaws, I do think it's the scariest movie because of the effect that it had from the aforementioned story that I've talked about from my childhood. No other movie has affected me in that way, in that long term. I can tell you a whole bunch of movies that I watched that scared me. Nightmare on Elm Street, scared of going to sleep, but that lasted for a day or two. I got over it. Watching The Ghost in the Darkness, was similar. I mean, essentially that movie is Jaws meets Lawrence of Arabia. There's even a scene where one of the guys in the tent with the lions pulls him out from by his feet.
Whoa!
So you have that. I
What's
thought, you know, The Ghost in the Darkness with Val
that
Kilmer.
Sounds awesome.
Rest in peace.
Ooh, man.
I made a video on that too. So it's a great film, underrated. And so the writer of that movie, one of the greatest screenwriters, William Goldman, wrote that, and it's based on a true story, Ghost in the Darkness, and he consciously was making that movie to harken back to Jaws. And so and I stand by that when it comes to Jaws being the scariest movie of all time, I think.
Man,
I mean, what would you guys say for yourselves? I know it's going to be different for people, but we can compare.
Well, first off, I'm definitely interested in that because Lawrence of Arabia is my second favorite movie of all time. I love Lawrence of Arabia. And you said so it's like a lion that like feasts on the dudes.
So The Ghost in the Darkness is based off of a true story that happened in the late 1800s, the turn of the century, that happened in Savo. They're called the Savo lions, 2 of them, maneless males. And it's unique to that region of Savo, where you would have these lions maneless. You know, maybe you'd have a little bit in the back. The movie unfortunately doesn't portray that. They're typical named males. Yeah. Right. I think a remake would do it right that way and make them, I don't know, you do a combination of animatronic and CGI possibly, or maybe even, you know, real lions if it's to coordinate that somehow. I just would want to see that story retold and kept alive. But the film with Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas in that movie as hunters, there are shades of Jaws in that movie.
Yeah, that sounds sweet. I'm definitely interested. I think I'm gonna have to check that out. Definitely your video, to say the least. Luke, why don't you answer that first? Because you're a pretty big horror fan. What do you think's like? Where does this rank in like scary films for you?
That's tough. I mean, I'd say my favorite. I want to say historical. I mean, it's only 50 years, but my favorite older horror film. It'd probably be top 5, honestly. When it comes to you know, older back in the day, like The Exorcism or The Exorcist. That's definitely top 5. You know, I put Jaws above Exorcist, like you said. I mean, because this is like, you know, the real deal. I mean, this is you know, this can, if you go out in the Pacific, you know, they're in the Pacific, right? If you go out in the middle of the Pacific, you jump in the water, you know, you're pretty big danger.
You're making yourself bait.
Yeah.
It could happen.
You are bait for any, you know, type of mammal in the water. Great white shark. I mean, that's the worst that it can get, in my opinion. But
I'll be a stickler, and the sharks are just fish. They're their own category. They're not mammals. And the way that I learned it, I always remember it, is when you know if it's a mammal or a fish by the way that its tail moves. If it's doing this, that's a fish. If it's doing that, it's a mammal.
Okay. There we go. I thought about that. I'd say
everyone hates me now.
Smart ass.
Yeah. Smart ass. Come on. No, they're like the line of the ocean. So they're the closest to a mammal of the ocean as you can get. Like, you know. But I'd say definitely my favorite Spielberg movie. I definitely trump Jaws over you know, Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, definitely.
In terms of fear-inducing and being a horror movie, you mean?
Yeah.
Or just in general, as horror, a better film.
I feel like Jurassic Park was, you know, it's, you know, Jurassic Park is great and all. It's more of a history kind of deal. Jaws, I feel like it's a better film because, you know, it keeps you on the edge of your seat more. You know, it's scary, you know. Whereas Jurassic Park, you know, I mean, it's scary. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was terrified of that, you know, T-Rex scene. You know, when you first saw the T-Rex and it ate that guy from the porta potty. That was terrifying. But that was more of like a, you know, like an awing, you know, reaction, like, oh whoa, like the giant what do you call the long neck?
The brachiosaur.
Yeah, thank you. But you history buff. But
Kyle knows his animals and dinosaurs so well.
That's good.
I just know the movie.
But yeah, top 5 definitely for sure. Horror movies back in the day.
Gosh, I wonder how I would have reacted if I saw this when I was young. Seeing it the first time, I wasn't scared a single bit. I wasn't scared at all today either.
I mean, that's fair.
But you know,
and it's a curiosity to wonder is how does that affect an adult when they watch this? I mean, that's because when you look back on it, you had a generation of people that were adults and kids alike that watched it. So you had a bunch of adults that were scared as well.
Let me see if this came out. I'm going to look up something real quick. Halloween. Okay, so Halloween came out in 1978. So this was before Halloween. I feel like that was like this staple. Like that was a big kickstart into horror, original Halloween. And then you have this. I mean, it probably was like super freaky watching this for the first time. I don't know. Yeah, for me, like scary films. So it's really weird how it's like our childhood ties to like that's such an impactful time when we watch film. Like I think that's why I've grown to love drama so much is because I guess the scariest movie that doesn't scare me anymore today, but I still look to like most fondly is Signs. M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. I love Signs. That's my number 1 favorite movie of all time. Still is. Yep, I love it. Wow. Absolutely love it. And I loved it. I think it was sort of my first adult, like not in the gross way, my first adult film that I watched.
I wasn't thinking that. My mind goes towards that stuff.
At a young age.
But
and I've loved it ever since. And it was horrifying. I remember watching that when I was young. Jeez, it was horrifying. Those aliens. And I think something that's interesting and definitely captivating about this is, you know, he doesn't show the Bruce, you know, the shark very much. You know, it's very, very much a mystery. You don't really know what he looks like. And I mean, look, if we did get a good look at him, then it would look like this. And this is a very, I don't know, this isn't a very convincing image right here. So I do like that we got to kind of experience him in the shadows, you know, not understanding his likeness. It is so interesting how that kind of, just that feature sort of, I don't know, it takes away the fear and the horror of something. Once you can see what it is that's lurking in the shadows, it kind of takes it away. I don't know what it is. It was like that with Signs too. I mean, once you got to see the alien, it's like, all right. It's
still... when they're featured too much in the scene and shown too much, say when the alien picks up the young son and you have the baseball bat moment, etc. This is an example of circulation on how to show a monster and it was a consequence of this shark and its mechanics not working. All right. It's a long drawn out, you know, there were delays for this film it took forever to finish this movie. And Steven Spielberg thought that this was going to be the end of his career because of the delays. So it could have gone, you know, to a point where that guy and there could have been an alternate reality where this movie sunk him, you know,
geez, that would suck.
Maybe he would have given up and then a new director would have come on and then the movie wouldn't have been what the movie would have become because maybe John Williams leaves because Steven Spielberg isn't there.
Do you guys know if like, because Luke, you mentioned, I think you said there's like 4 sequels to Jaws. Did he do any of the sequels? No. Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense.
He walked away. Good on him.
The same cast in the 4th one. Some of the same, like the same wife.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, I think that's the only.
That's it. You know, that's a weird one.
Well, the second one has Roy Scheider back. Okay, but he did it, I think, contractually. It was something.
He had to do it.
Right.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
They killed Brody off after the second one, I think.
They killed him off screen, and so you're referencing the 4th one. They mentioned how he had passed away, and the wife is now the main character, and she has a psychic connection with the shark, with the new shark guys.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And Michael Caine is in it in a bit part, and when he was asked. So how do you feel about Jaws 4, Michael Caine? I don't know. I didn't see it, but I saw the house that my salary paid for.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, there we go.
Before we go on, did you have something to say, Luke?
No, just don't watch it.
Okay, good.
I mean,
Don't watch
yeah.
them. Okay, just watch Jaws 1. Don't watch the rest. Let's get to the chat a little bit. Sorry, guys. We've been on a roll. Kyle, our friend, he's really stirring the pot. Thanks for being here, Kyle. We appreciate it. Let's talk to all you guys. Cass is here. Good evening, guys. I'm excited for this one. Yeah, we're excited too. And you just watched it too. That's exciting. I didn't say it was amazing. I just have a lot of thoughts on it. I'm so confused on the whole film. I feel like it kind of takes multiple viewings. I don't know. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it more the second time too, right? I mean, I don't know. It's a lot to chew on. All right, our friend Brown Eyes is here. So Brown Eyes and Proctophile. So Proctophile. We're doing good. We're having a good time. And Gord King, Jaws is a masterpiece.
There you go.
Gord King. Gord King loves Jaws. That's good. Brown Eyes. Quint is also the Spectre agent in From Russia with Love. Yeah, that actor. I was curious about that actor. I don't recognize him in anything else. Is he in any other big films you know of, Kyle?
Yeah, he was in a Harrison Ford film called Force 10 from Navarone, which was a sequel to another film. And they work very well together. They have good chemistry in that movie. He is, I believe he is British. At least that's what my recollection is, because he does have a British accent in that movie with Harrison Ford. But in Jaws, he doesn't. It comes out, and I noticed in this last viewing in one moment on the boat, but most of the way he's doing a pretty good, almost
you notice his
pirate-esque kind
That's
of
hilarious
accent,
Huh. Well, yeah, he hides it well. I never would have guessed that. Gord King, the reason the mayor didn't want to involve the Coast Guard is because it would create fear, and the summer season is what the town's economy depends on. Okay, I guess that would make sense. They'd probably take like total control too. I mean, they had a pretty good thing going when they had like all of their boats like just hanging out in the water, just a little bit of a distance from the crowd. I mean, if they just had that and had it more controlled, I don't think maybe they would catch the shark. I mean, I don't know how you missed that thing coming at you, but I don't know. Let's see, Proctophile. 50 just seems like a long time just because of how quickly tech's advanced in our lifetimes. Yeah, 50 years.
Oh,
yeah,
can I stop this for a second? Tech's advanced in our lifetime. Has it though? Haven't we been seeing CGI in recent times be worse than it was when it first came about?
Well, I don't know. CGI is here, and they had no CGI here, at least.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But what I'm saying
it is still worse.
It's not a sure thing that just because time elapses that tech advances. That there has to be innovations by individuals and groups, and there has to be advances built on top of achievements. So when you have movies like The Thing and Jaws, there are advances that happen. Say another shark movie that was more well known is Deep Blue Sea. Not a great script movie, but when you look at the practical effects of those sharks, it's fucking great. Some of those scenes are fantastic.
Practical is just better, I mean, and it all comes down to the story and the writing, right? I mean, we had a new shark movie not that long ago, The Meg. Everyone forgot about The Meg. Nobody cares about The Meg. That did not work. No. Brown Eyes of Mandalore. This is a constant rewatch of my dad's, amongst all his other constant rewatches: The Godfather, Hunt for Red October, and Band of Brothers, and some others. Ooh, those are all great.
Go ahead.
I think we're going to be watching Godfather next Tuesday.
Oh, tell me we're not doing a double take.
No, yeah, we were talking about maybe doing a double feature: Godfather 1 and Godfather 2, right back to back.
Please
Good luck with that. You'll be on stream for an hour or two.
Call off.
Yeah, no, we can't handle that.
What I want to say to that comment, the previous comment, is what I notice is the connection with Godfather, Band of Brothers, etc., and Jaws is the triumvirate in Jaws and those other films is the camaraderie between men. And that's why your grandfather is watching those films and watching Jaws, is because this film is very well written and very well acted.
Yeah, that's something we haven't really talked about. Yeah, these three, this is a great little trio. These are three very different men too. But yeah, they grow in brotherhood together, and they bounce their little quirks and and I don't know, charismas off each other pretty well. It's exciting, and yeah, I'm so sad that we just don't get that very much anymore. It's really disappointing, very disappointing.
Yeah, let me contrast this for a second. When you look at the ensemble of characters that happen in Marvel films, because usually that is where we look to for the ensemble modern movies these days.
Oh yeah,
this is a small ensemble, but is still an ensemble nonetheless. Let's compare the way that these interactions happen in this film. They clash in Jaws. Quint is looking down on Hooper as being this privileged guy. He's not a working class man, and he condescends to him. There comes a point where they begin to respect each other when they listen to each other's backstories. They compare scars. Hooper and Brody, they listen to Quinn's story and experience on the Indianapolis, which is very harrowing and a fantastic performance. Now let's compare how all of that, and it's really more realistic based and grounded, the way that these characters interact with each other. Kind of fast paced, so that works still. Okay, so what does Marvel do? They have to inject all this quippy shit into the interactions and not allow for moments of patience. Maybe these characters are listening to each other. They're not trying to one-up each other with jokes. Yada, yada, yada. Tony Stark it up. Stop. That's what you had Tony Stark, and that worked. Not everyone is Tony Stark. And they're trying to make that happen. They have tried to make that happen over and over again, and it doesn't work.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because I think they have the making for that though. I mean, there's some moments where it's like some rich content is thrown into the mix, right? Where they have something interesting to talk about, where there can be patience and there can be some build, right? Where different people can come together and understand each other better and grow from that experience, grow from that exchange. But yeah, the quippy bullshit, it always ruins it. And I don't know if you noticed, Kyle, as you were saying, you were spitting facts. Luke here was nodding his little head left to right. No.
Why do you say? Well, you didn't say. Why did you shake your head? Why did you shake your head? No. What's up, Luke?
I have a unpopular opinion about Marvel these days. I feel like it's being shied away. I feel like we're putting me on the big screen now. Okay, so
just make the whole screen him.
Yeah. I feel like it's very, very. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop talking before everyone hates on me. Okay, because I know.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying. Can you elaborate?
Oh, that's the problem. If I keep talking, the comment section is going to attack me.
Go for it. That's the whole point, man.
Hear me out. Marvel is seriously, cover your ears, Jackson, underrated right now. In my opinion. Okay? I think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to rebuild everything that was taken away from us after Endgame. It's going to be slow. It's going to be kind of hard to watch. But there's a story that's developing right now in the works, and it's almost there. We are 1 year away, okay. Hear me out, Jackson.
Well, okay, so a follow-up question. Are you going to defend Ant-Man, Quantumania? Are you going to defend Marvels? Okay. Are you going to defend those TV shows?
All the TV shows, all of them.
Yada, yada.
I defend the TV shows. I do not defend Ant-Man Quantumania anymore because that is I feel like that was kind of erased. Should be erased from our minds because that's not going to happen anymore. But the TV shows like I can't really defend. I can defend Loki, the end of Loki season 2. I can just defend the new stories. I'm going off track now, but I feel like it's going to be hard before it gets better. Get worse before it gets better, but it's going to get better. That's I don't even know. I should have.
One of these days,
I was gonna say a dirty joke, man, but I'm gonna let it go.
Oh, Kyle's being nice to us. That's nice.
Okay,
We'll move on.
Practicals give me some grace. Okay.
Okay,
We're
Proctophile's
good.
being nice. Here, we'll get back to the chat. All right, Brown Eyes Mandalore. The Hobbit movies get too much hate. They have their merits. I'll say, or maybe I'll say, okay, they have their merits.
Yeah, Brown Eyes. Name one merit? We'll wait for that.
They're, they're made with love. I could say that much. They're made with love.
For money.
I don't know. I think
love for
Peter
money.
Jackson tried. I think he tried.
He tried for the studio. I'm not saying Peter Jackson did it for the money. He tried to. I think he talks about that he didn't want people to lose their jobs, and there was a whole quagmire of Guillermo del Toro was supposed to do it, yada yada. It was taking too long. I get that, but the studio, they fucked up. They done fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Proctophile, all the super nerdy stuff, says the guy that hasn't seen T2. Yeah. I know. I still need to see it.
What?
I haven't. I know.
Oh, wow.
It's bad. I wasn't a big fan of the first one, honestly. I'm not a James Cameron guy. I'm just not a James Cameron guy. We just watched The Abyss last week, and I couldn't stand it. I don't know if you've seen The Abyss.
Oh yeah,
James Cameron.
Oh, yeah.
Do you like it?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially, you got to acknowledge the practical effects, dude. Did you see the behind the scenes making of that movie?
No.
That's a movie.
I've heard it was production hell. Yeah, that's what I've heard. I think Proctophile told us.
Very entertaining. It's online. You can see it for free. Check it out. It's engrossing. The making of that movie. Seriously.
All right. Brown Eyes Mandalore. Didn't they go through several sharks on set? I bet they did.
No. So the way that it worked was they had different versions of the same shark. Say one that's connected to, I don't know the technical term for it, but they would have it on that kind of the platform, and it would be on an arm. So the shark would move around, etc., on an arm, and then they would have one, say just the dorsal fin that they would pull. There's footage of this where they would pull it through the water. But if they raise it up, it's in the behind the scenes. When you raise it up high enough, you can see the metal structure. There wasn't an entire shark there. Okay. They were just pulling the fins, right, for the sequence when it's going into the pod. So, and then they would have a couple other ones that for different shots, essentially. So.
Okay. All right. Cool. Kyle, he knows his stuff. Hey, Wilkie's Movies and Music.
Hey,
here he is. Hey, y'all.
Hey, dude.
What's up, man?
Cheers, man.
Wilkie, you need to invite me on your stream to talk about physical media. I want to show you the new DVDs I got. Hit me up. Brown Eyes of Mandalore. I'm pretty sure these movies are heavily Moby Dick influenced movies. Yeah, I mean, well, I guess we have gotten like Moby Dick movies.
Well, when we're talking about Jaws specifically, absolutely. Quint is Ahab.
Ahab.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sly Jester, what's up, man? Boss let me off an hour early, and my all-time favorite movie is The Topic. What an awesome Taco Tuesday. Hell yeah, man. Thanks for joining us.
Taco Tuesday.
Luke didn't really watch Disney growing up. He's a Nickelodeon kid. Hey, same here. I didn't like Disney. I'm kind of surprised you watched so much Disney, Kyle. I didn't like, I guess when I was younger, it was all like girly Disney, and I wasn't interested in like any of it.
Wait. You watch girly Disney?
No, I'm saying I thought I thought Disney was super girly.
It was more saturated. You're saying in general, that's what you were witnessing?
Oh, yeah.
Like in the culture?
All the princess movies. I mean, that's what I grew up with. Like, that's what was in the zone.
Do you have
sisters?
I didn't want to
see that. I have one, but she wasn't really into that.
Okay.
No, we always liked Cartoon Network. That was sort of our thing. But yeah, that was more fun. And the animated stuff, like Adventure Time and SpongeBob and all kinds of fun stuff like that. We've had a lot of chats today. I don't think I'll be able to get to everything, so I'm just going to kind of jump through these. Sly Jester says, I watch this movie every 4th of July. Hell yeah. That's an interesting 4th of July pick. Let's see here.
No, it takes place on 4th of July. It works.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess
for a particular day, it does.
Yeah. Gord King. Jaws would either be a hard PG-13 or a mild R. Yeah, I'm thinking more hard PG-13. Except for, I guess, the scene I clearly missed you mentioned at the very beginning, which I did not notice. Let's see here. Cass says, I tried watching it for free the first time. I didn't finish it, so I completely finished it tonight. Did she like it? Did you say she liked it, Luke?
Yeah, she really enjoyed it.
Okay, good. Oh, wow, look at that. Kyle, you have a friend here that also watched this when he was 5 years old. He says it was terrifying and he loved it. Gord's cool. We like Gord.
That connection there, Gord. Yeah.
Sly says, if you read Quint's speech on paper, it seems very choppy and out of sequence. Interesting.
Well, that's why you have the great Robert Shaw doing that sequence.
Yeah, there you go. He can convert it for us. Gord King, if you've never read about the story of the USS Indianapolis, it's harrowing stuff. I know, Kyle. He enlightened us to it. Thank you, Kyle. Catching movies in the wrong mood does happen sometimes. I wasn't in the best mood when I saw The Mummy the first time, and I didn't like it. Now I love it.
Whew!
What?
That movie, The Mummy, 1999. That's the new Indiana Jones. That is a spiritual Indiana Jones movie. It's fantastic.
Oh, so you love The Mummy?
I love The Mummy. Yeah.
Oh, so
the second one doesn't. You know, I grew up watching the second one, and Mummy Returns. Loved it. I thought it was fairly comparable to the first, but recently as an adult seeing it, it's not as strong as the first, but the first does hold up.
Huh, that's cool. Maybe we'll have to watch that one. Yeah, so Sly Jester says 1,100 men went into the water. Only 300 came out. Sharks took the rest. Jeez, that's insane. That's crazy. Let's see. Brown Eye says the constant action and movement in the water also draws them in. Yep, that was part of the detail regarding trying to close the beaches in the movie. That's a good point. Yeah, all that motion, right? Mm-hmm. I kind of wonder, since we were talking about the story, the USS Indianapolis, I remember when he opened up the book, Boyd, I keep getting his name wrong. Brody, gosh, Brody. He's just, unfortunately, he's sort of that much forgettable for me. I keep forgetting his name. But Brody, I remember when he was reading, like opening up the shark book, one thing that stuck with me was that the sharks have like some sort of like, they sense like some sort of, they have like there's like a sensory function of their the way they move. So I'm wondering if maybe the submarine, like the way it beeps or something, or maybe some kind of signals that it releases, maybe somehow that attracts sharks as well. That was something that just kind of loomed in my head when I was watching it.
Your question is, what would have attracted that amount of sharks?
Yeah.
It's a good question. Yeah,
I know, it's curious, right? I do want to see a movie about that because that's interesting. Gord, all right, looks like Gord King isn't defending him. Nolan does tend to get overrated a bit, but he has done several great films. Oppenheimer is one of the best biopics ever made.
I'm gonna have to disagree with that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan. Oh, Miss Sparkles. Hey, everyone. I must say you three are very handsome. Thanks, Sparkles. Sly Jester. The fear of the unknown. What you can't see will always be scarier than what you can. You know, this is a good looking group of guys here. Nice job, guys. Good stuff.
You complimented yourself. Good.
Hey,
on you, man.
you guys.
No, you can't get away from it.
Quinn and Hooper were always at odds, and Brody.
I'm going to tell Lord. Sorry to interrupt. The Lord Toxic. I'm going to tell him.
This moment. I was dogging on him for being an old man on his last stream because he was dogging on me for being a baby. Quentin Hooper were always at odds, and Brody isn't sure who to follow, which allows the audience to imprint onto Brody. That's true. Yeah, we didn't know who to follow, right? I mean. Ooh, our friend Sin's Corner. Hello. Probably can't hang long, but I wanted to stop by and say hi. Hope you guys have a great stream. I'd love to see this on the big screen. It's coming back again this year. Oh, that's a good point. I forgot about that. Yeah. Have you heard the true story that inspired the book/movie of this?
Oh, maybe. I could be thinking of something else. I did. So in fashion to what Brody did, where he's reading books, I had growing up shark books. And there was a particular incident that I read about, and there's a picture. I remember it vividly. You know, it was all brown and, old in the early 1900s. A bull shark entered a river, fresh water.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, and was able to go down that river. And I don't know. I can't recall if there was an attack, but it was there, Wow. And so it probably isn't the story that this is based on because I don't remember there being significant attacks. But that came to mind in terms of, the sharks are adaptable and they can go into fresh water if they're a certain type of species. So.
That's weird. That's crazy. I know. I'm glad it's like you don't have to worry too much about sharks in the rivers because, I mean, how could they possibly get there, right? But I didn't think about that. Let's see. Man, a lot of good chats today. Thanks for talking, everybody. This is exciting. I can't get to everybody. So let's see. Sin. For me, the scariest movie is Halloween. I was far too young when I saw that, and I still have nightmares about Michael Myers. That's just crazy to think that this came out before Halloween. I mean,
know.
this probably set a precedent. I mean, there
3
weren't
years.
like, I don't know. This is to some degree kind of a slasher film, right? I mean, I don't know. Right?
No.
Am I,
It's a good.
am I
No,
spitting
dude,
here?
it's a monster in the house stereotype or trope, I would say. There's a screenwriting book called Save the Cat, and that screenwriter Blake Snyder, he details out and rounding down the subject or the circle in which a movie lands or the genre in like a one stated sentence. So monster in the house, right?
Okay.
Alien is monster in the house. Jaws is monster in the house. Halloween is monster in the house. They're different characters, different locations, etc. But it rounds down to a particular group of movie. And the parallel that I've noticed with when you're comparing it to Halloween is the shark is silent the whole time. I mean, mostly there are some subtle moments. A couple I noticed where they try to inject some roars in there, which is utterly ridiculous. But most of the way, and I noticed particularly that, which was kind of it was mostly creepy, is how when the shark is coming through, say, the window at the very end, trying to get to Brody through the water, and the eye comes up to him, it's quiet as it blasts through that glass, and that's creepy. And there's a parallel there with Michael Myers because he's quiet as well.
Yeah, what noise could a shark make? I mean,
they don't.
I can't even think of something. Yeah, bubbles. There you go. That's the noise. Proctofile, Friendship is out already. Select theaters, man. Select theaters. I know where you live, but I guess it's in Georgia and probably California, right? I don't know.
What's your exact address, Proctofile? Tell us right now.
Nice, Luke. I like that. All right, let's see. Man, lots of good ones. Oh, here we go. Ty's joining the chat. I like how Jaws has influenced many other pop culture scenes. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Ty watched this with us today. The second watch was a lot more insightful. Yeah, man. I think so, too. I think I was able to chew on so much more, which is nice. Movies, you just got to watch movies more than once to really understand and to respect them, right? There's not many movies where you could just watch, just watch it once and really get it. And if they're like that, then they're kind of hollow, right? Like that's the thing about Godfather. Like hopefully we're gonna watch it next week. We'll see how things pan out. But I mean, you need to watch that like 5 times over, don't you? I mean, geez, there's a lot to chew on there.
So I'm told. I did watch that movie for the first time. There's a video of me talking to my friend Ben, who has grown up with that movie. And that was one of the things that he told me is I should watch again. But my argument is you have to understand the context of what he means by watching it again. But my argument is you should be able to enjoy a film from the first watch. Yeah. But then if you watch it again, you get more out of it. There's a difference with the way that I saw The Godfather, which is that it's not that if I watched it again, I would get more out of it. There are things that are, to me, left out of that movie that needed to be in that made it less of a movie than the anticipation I had for it.
That's true. Well, yeah, I mean, it's another one of those big movies. I mean, it's up there with Jaws, really, right? I mean, it's that huge.
People consider it the greatest movie of all time, and
I like
the part 2
more than that.
That's fair.
I need to see it again, though. I didn't know you did that video right after just watching it one time through. I mean, you had a pretty solid conversation about it too, didn't you? It was like 30 minutes or something like that.
So the first video I did for Godfather was about 25, I think, but part 2 is the nitty gritty. That's about 42 minutes.
Man, dang!
I listened to your edited. Audience, that's edited.
Yeah. We also I'm working on a mural and I listened to your Jerry Maguire one and that was real good. I liked hearing your conversation. I've never seen it, which you spoil a lot. Lots of spoilers. Now I know everything. Thanks to you, Kyle. It's good though. It's good stuff. Sometimes it's good knowing, right? Sometimes it's good knowing.
But that is an interesting thing that you say is what if you do watch a video that celebrates the movie, talks about its details, and the
And spoils the
subtleties of
thing.
it. And yeah,
Yeah.
technically it would be a spoiler, but do you walk into that movie with that perspective, and does it make you appreciate the movie a little bit more than you would if you hadn't seen that video?
I think it does.
It's
Yeah,
a
I think
question.
that's.
It might depend on
does,
the movie.
definitely. It hypes it up, right? I mean, like us talking, it might inspire people to just rewatch Jaws because they like hearing, being enlightened and reminded of all these things that they enjoyed when they watched it, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it is with Jerry Maguire. I am more curious about it. I probably never would have cared to see it before. So you did a good job. Good video.
Thank you.
Check it out, everybody. Let's see what else we got here. I think we're going to take a little break with the chats, and we're going to finish up pretty soon here, guys. But I definitely want to talk about something pretty big because we've been talking about Jaws for an hour and 20 minutes now, and there's a lot. There's just so much you could possibly say about this. It's just never-ending conversation you can have about Jaws. This is something I'm very curious to hear about. Let me see if I can remove this comment. There we go. Something I'm very curious to hear about from you guys, since you love this movie so much. It's so influential in your life. Tell me, what are your complaints? What are some things you didn't like about it? Some things that you would change, some elements that were boring, that turned you off, that scared you away. I don't know. Why don't you share those? Because I am very curious to know the answer.
Normally I would be very easily prone to do this because I can point out a movie's flaws, and they're just points in the movie that show it's when it was made.
Mm-hmm.
With some okay, so here's, you could call this a kind of insignificant because it has nothing to do with the main actors. There's a particular actor, and you could call her an extra or whatever, bit part in the scene when it's the 4th of July, everyone's in the water, and you have these shots that are head on to actors reacting from the cameras on the surface of the water, and it's pointing at characters that are reacting to the fake fin that's in the water, the prank, but they all think it's a real shark.
Yeah.
And you have a particular actress there that is just, she's not giving a good performance. She does the oh my. Nobody in actuality would react that way. If they saw that and believed that there was a shark, they'd be out of there.
Yeah.
Okay. Not
wait a second. I know which one you're talking about. Was she holding a kid?
No, she actually ran through kids.
Yeah.
I think, that were behind her. Turns around and tips them over.
Yeah, she wasted a lot of time.
Oh man,
right.
That's an interesting call out. That's all you got?
No, I mean there are. Well, I want to hear Luke's. Let's hear Luke's.
All right, Luke.
What do you got?
So Cassie helped me out with this one. She actually messaged me and told me hers, and I kind of agree with her. But before I say that, I'm going to comment that I feel like the ocean scene when they were on the boat was so drug out. I mean, 3 different scenes.
Don't say that.
What? You're talking about the
great scene,
the orca entire sequence of the 3rd act. You mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Jackson, what do you think I was talking about?
Oh no, I knew that.
Oh yeah,
I loved that.
When they
I thought once they got on the orca, I was on board. I was interested.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was great, but like, it felt like they could have like narrowed it down. Like they shot the shark with the air like at least like at most 3 times.
That is true.
No, it was more than that, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, the same thing happened 3 times in a row, and it was kind of like okay, but what Cassie and I both agree on, the fact that they chose, I said this in the beginning, but the fact that they chose Quint so easily, just a nobody fisherman. I know he's been through a lot, but the mayor didn't know anything about this guy. He kind of just like, he was kind of all talk really. And then they were like,
it's not spoken. It's not spoken about. Once they get into his shed and on his property, you see those jaws of skeletons of ships that he has killed. He's clearly a master at killing sharks, and he has a vendetta against them. Which, by the way, if you look into the insight into Quint during the orca sequences, why does he shoot full throttle on that engine, even though he knows, and he's warned by Hooper, you're gonna kill the engine if you go full on, and he tells him, shut up in my engine, Why does he keep doing that? Because the guy is, first of all, he has PTSD. He's good at hiding it. with humor and his personality. But there's a degree of this is his last hurrah to kill this shark. And this is his Moby Dick to compare him to Ahab. But it's a little more, deep than that for this character because he has this trauma with sharks way back when he was on the Indianapolis, and he watched all of his brothers die essentially and get eaten. So for this moment, when he's on the orca and he's trying to kill the shark with Hooper and Brody, this is his last hurrah, and he's willing. I don't think he's even thinking about going back to the mainland or going back to shore. I think he's either going to die out here. He's thinking that, or he's going to kill he's going to kill the shark, or he's going to die trying. That's the idea, I think, of that's why he's going full throttle.
Well, I'm glad you makes
it to shore.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's like something they don't really explain in the movie is when Brody, when he's like trying to call somebody on the phone in the ship, he just the captain comes over there and just starts smashing it. It's like,
he
why on
destroys
earth
that
would
radio.
you do that?
Yeah.
It's like that's a pretty crucial tool you need there. That's a good point.
The Coast Guard, right? Though, right?
Is that who he was calling?
Yeah, I looked it up before I was researching, and that's who he was trying to contact was the Coast Guard.
Yeah, Brody was, but previous to that, he was contacted by Brody's wife in an earlier part of the third act, and he just makes a, we're looking at some of these fish, and it won't be long, see you later, but but when in that moment when clearly they're in deep shit and they can't, at that point they tried to pull the shark into shore, and I think they're called cleats. They rip off. The rope was tied to the boat, and they were trying to pull the shark in. They rip off, so they have no way to pull the barrels and the ropes that were attached to the shark in. And Brody goes to the radio. I'm going to make a phone call, and that's when Quint destroys that radio with a bat. Yeah, because I think he's a little suicidal at that moment. Like Brody even says,
all this.
"Certifiable, Quinn. It's certifiable." Yeah. Oh, it's a great acting. It's just great acting. That's so realistic. Just just fuck off. It's that type of thing. It's great.
That makes me sad hearing this perspective. I don't want. That's like that's the big spoiler of the movie. Everyone is Captain here, he dies, and he has like when it comes to the shocks in this film, I mean, that's the biggest one, I thought. Just seeing that again, I didn't realize just how grim it is. I mean, it's kind of an R-rated death. I mean, he gets eaten alive, snapped in half by the big old Bruce here.
His death is traumatic to me. Like that, I've had nightmares of his performance because of how the blood-curdling screams that Robert Shaw did. I even made a point of this in my Alien, whatever the last one, Romulus was. I made a point to where you have all of these horrible deaths happen on the ship with the alien, blah, blah, blah. Acid blood is falling down on people's faces and on their body. And this particular scene, this actor chooses to do a performance in which he's just and I made a point in the video. I said, where are the performances that say Robert Shaw did, where you really felt the agony, the fucking pain from dying this horrible and that's supposed to you're supposed to be scared by somebody's performance and seeing them die in that horrible way. And these actors, I don't know what the fuck I'm getting really passionate about because I'm pissed off. Why the hell can actors do what? It's not even Robert Shaw. There was another guy. There was a side character guy who got eaten in his little dinghy boat. He got knocked off. Even his screams were just scary.
Rich, right? Yeah.
It's high pitched. It's freaky, but you don't see that anymore.
Yeah, you could feel the pain. My gosh. Yeah, yes. His gasps were like, shrieking.
And over time, you just see him going further and further. And
gosh, there's nothing you can do.
At the end, the shark's teeth are all the way up to here.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you picture
bad.
yourself. Can you imagine yourself in that situation where
The-
your
the
body
view.
is enveloped by the mouth and the body of a shark? Your body is now you're gone. That's just
Yeah.
it's terrifying.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awful.
That's
Yeah.
awful. Luke, do you have any complaints? Any complaints about Jaws? Things you would want changed? Disappointments?
It's one of those movies. Like I earlier on I commented like what scene I'd probably want, shorter, but I was educated on Quint's history with Kyle and some of the comments that the town apparently did know him. Not sure why they knew about him so much. I guess they're because they're by a bay of water, they know about fishermen more than others. But no, it's one of those movies where I really just don't have many complaints because it all makes sense. Really, it's all pretty straightforward, and I'm just naturally into sharks, so it all works for me. So
Nice. I think, watching it again, a lot of my complaints were sort of like my initial complaints and my initial disappointments were sort of made up. I enjoyed it a lot better. And I found that I don't really have too many myself now either. I really enjoyed all the boat stuff when they were on the boat. I loved all of that. I told Luke when I don't know why, while I was watching this, I couldn't stop thinking about the Lego Jaws set. I love the Lego set here. I don't know why I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I think rewatching the movie kind of makes me want to buy this.
I
those
thought this was a
icebergs-
personal photo for you that you.
No, I didn't. Yeah, this is just something I found on Google.
Okay.
But it's pretty cool. I mean, look how cool that is. I couldn't stop thinking about this set. I don't know why, but I think that's sort of a positive thing. That's like, okay, I'm willing to invest in Jaws now financially. So I may end up purchasing this.
You want me to
Later
nitpick?
on.
Okay, the guy up the front of the ship with the camera, I think,
He looks
and the
weird.
glasses, that's supposed to be Hooper. He looks nothing like him.
yeah, it's not a good portrayal.
No,
Yeah, maybe this is a
he's
bad
got dark
picture.
hair.
I don't know.
That's not.
I love the Richard Dreyfuss figure. That's my favorite up there with his little blue jacket on. I like
Wait,
that.
okay, so that's him. Okay, so
Oh, yeah.
who the hell is up
Oh
front?
yeah, that's Brody.
What, are those
Definitely.
binoculars?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's got
When is he
glasses.
wearing a fucking tie?
Is that what that is?
No.
I think
Is
it's
that
like an
what it
opening
is?
of a jacket. Like
Yeah,
it's the
it's a
shirt
Is
under
it?
his
Okay,
jacket.
yeah, I'm seeing
This
this
isn't
all
the
wrong.
best picture.
Okay,
This isn't
well,
the best picture.
yeah, see what happens when I try to nitpick something?
Man.
It doesn't go well all the time.
Remind
Okay,
me not
fine.
to buy you any Lego sets.
Right?
All right, cool. Well, we're going to get through a few more chats before we end up today, guys. Thank you all for joining us so much. Sly Jester, I watched this movie. Oh, yeah, we already talked about that. Yep. Ty says The Meg is a disgrace to shark movies. I think we all agree on that. Yes. Gord King. Hey, in the very beginning, he relates to you, Luke. Marvel is miles from underrated. It's utterly awful.
How does
There
that
you
relate
go.
to me?
Oh,
No,
well, the
that's the
first part
opposite.
did. The
Yeah,
first
I know,
part
it's-
related. It's underrated, but oh wait, no, it's utterly awful. I want to see that debate. I would pay-per-view $50, Luke versus Gord King.
You just
Marvel.
watch me get destroyed.
Well, you got to come with your facts, man. Come with your facts.
Dude, my facts are unpopular. I mean,
That's okay. You got your facts if you got the
Like,
facts.
I don't love Marvel. I'm just trying to hold on.
You know,
know?
Luke's optimistic, and unfortunately, I've lost some of that optimism over time from Marvel. Maybe other things can come back. And then Megan the Texan, is this one of the first movies to have a child death? That's an interesting question.
No,
Hmm.
pass the material. No, that's way later. Never mind.
That is an interesting question.
Well, The Exorcist. The Exorcist. That is a child.
75 was a long time ago. I feel like they must have had that even in black and white films.
Yeah, but
Maybe not like a gruesome death, though, right? I mean,
she's being tortured. I mean, a demon is torturing her.
oh no, I'm talking about this. Was Exorcist before this?
Yeah, it's 1973.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. There you go. That's probably your answer.
Yeah, somewhere there's a movie that may have done it on a more subtle level, but I mean, this may have been one of the first where it was done in this way, where you take out a child in a gruesome type of way with a monster.
Yeah. Well, interesting question, Megan. Thank you. Sly Jester. The only flaw with this movie was Bruce. Other than that, absolute perfection. Fight me.
Okay. Point out a little flaw with Bruce. I think so. The jowls to where his mouth, the bottom part of his mouth meets the top. You see the sides where clearly it's not a it's very stiff the way that it's sculpted, and the jowls don't move at all. And you can see where that's kind of where the hinges lie, blah blah blah, and it's moving up and down. Yeah. So if they show the shark too much, you can see some of the flaws there. But there's some shots that are still hold up and are kind of spectacular, particularly when the shark goes into the pod and gets that guy from the tiny little boat and he falls in, and the shark comes in from the side with its mouth open and pulls him under. It's just right below the surface, and just that little filter of the water and the way that they shot it and the way the shark was moving, that still holds up. It looks real, that shark approaching the guy and pulling him under.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. And one critique to that is he does get pulled under where it's clear that his legs are not in the jaws of the shark. Where it's his legs are a little bit away from the shark, but he, some crew member or scuba guy pulled him under, that type of thing.
Man, so, you paid really close attention.
Well, so I'm giving you that critique there, is that some of the the blocking of the way that they did that in relation to the actors and the shark, those are the little nitpicks right there. But going back to the Quint death sequence, I mean, he's really in the fucking mouth of that shark. So
yeah. Well, good. You got a good conversation going there, Sly. Thanks for the comment. And I think that's going to be the end of the stream for us, guys. Thank you all for joining us so much. Definitely appreciate both of my distinguished guests here. Galliardo, a common, a frequent flyer here. We always appreciate you, Luke. And Kyle, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was great having you on. That was a lot of fun. You brought some good energy. You got this heated, man. You got some fuel to the fire. That's for sure.
I had to let it all out, man. I have all this baggage from the childhood and seeing this movie as a kid, and now I get to talk about it.
I want to debate with you.
Debate with him about what?
No, I wouldn't debate with you.
Oh, you wouldn't debate with him. Yeah, he's got his facts, man. Is there anything you're working on, Kyle, that you want to shout out or tell everybody a little bit about you and your channel?
Well, it's in relation to similar what you're doing. You're doing Godfather soon. And so I have a discussion with Ben, who's an actor and a friend. And we do it in front of a campfire, and we talked about the first one and the second, separate videos, and the upcoming one that we're gonna sit down soon again for is part 3. And nice. Eventually because Mission Impossible Final Reckoning is coming out, so some version of a movie or a video review is going to come out about that one. Cool. I'm anticipating that. Yeah.
You're excited about that new Mission Impossible? Okay, good. I liked the last one. I think it's sad that it didn't do so well. It didn't deserve that. I don't know. Yeah.
There's some flaws with it. There critiques to it that I think they could have adjusted, but the stunt sequences hold up. They do.
Okay. Oh, cool. All right. Well, other than that, I think for us, join me tomorrow night at 9 p.m. I'm going to be streaming with another new interesting entertainment face of YouTube. What's his name? Let's see. He's also a good friend, and we're gonna have a really good. He's new to YouTube. We're going to have a very interesting conversation about Andor season 2, and we're going to be talking about trying to figure out, kind of discussing if it's even worth investing in, because I don't know. Disney Star Wars has been an absolute nightmare lately. The show's sadly have really fallen off a cliff. But Andor, is it the light at the end of the tunnel? Is it not? So join us tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time if you want to watch that. We'd greatly appreciate it. And also be sure to like the video, subscribe to both these guys' channels, Gally, Ardo, and our special guest today, Kyle Corwith, and keep up with his content as well, because he makes some great work, and it's always a pleasure having him on here as well. But as always, we appreciate all the time you spend with us. We wish you